Alright, we talked a little bit about what parts are going on the motor in the last episode, but for those of you who didn't see the teardown part, just wanted to kind of show you what we're looking at here, what we're going to be accomplishing today. Again, we're putting on all the engine tin, the fan and the cooling parts, the new heater boxes, the new exhaust. We're going to also be putting on the dual carburetors and the oil cooling system right over there. We'll be putting on the carburetor linkage as well. So this basically is the big mess of parts that's going to go back on this engine. Alright, well, as you know, we are going to go ahead and try to put on our degree pulley wheel here on the flywheel, or on the crank, but what we found is that with this new high capacity oil pump, it's pushed all this out a little farther, which didn't have enough clearance to clear the wheel. So what we've done is we've taken the engine tin off. What I'm going to end up doing is cutting all that out of the way, and then also I'm taking down a little bit of that case. Now luckily we had an extra one, so we could use it for deciding, you know, how far and how deep we could go in. But basically you can see we've got a little bit of Sharpie marks here that tells us as far out as we can go on our grinding, and we've got our wheel here, and we can see that that'll, as long as we stay on this side of those grinding wheels, or these Sharpie marks, we won't hit any problems with the ports that are basically coming into here. So they basically stop right at that line right there. So we should be good. Take this clearance down and try to get all this put back on here. So Dremel tool, grinding wheel, or grinding tool basically right there. You can see it gets in here. It pretty much eats that aluminum up real quick, no problem. Got to come in at it from a couple different angles, I'm sure. But we're going to take this down as far as we can and call it good. I'm sure we can make it happen. Alright, well, we finished doing the clearance on the oil pump cover. You can see here we've ground it down with our Dremel tool, and now we also want to get as much room as possible, so we're gonna cut a hole out of our engine tin as well, so we don't have even that a little bit of clearance that we're having to worry about with the pulley. You can see I've already started with a hole here, but basically I've just got my Dremel tool and I'm getting in here and grinding out what I can. Alright, we finished cutting the hole in the pulley engine tin back here. Basically we're going to go ahead and mount it back up to where it was before, but you can see how I've clearanced the oil pump cover and the engine tin. The hole kind of fits up nicely there. I think that's going to work out good. So basically we just take our screws and we put it all back together again. Alright, here we are, attempt number 2. We're going to put the pulley wheel on here. As you know, we already had everything ready to go, but we had to do a little bit more fabrication. So now we get to put the pulley wheel on. As you remember, we did set the motor at top dead center, cylinder number 1, so top dead center. But we do have a keyway here that we need to line up on the crank. So basically you just find that keyway pretty easily, and then take a little hammer, just a little bit of the wood handle, and just kind of wrap on it around in a circle like so until it gets down far enough to where you can use the bolt. Alright, we're getting this gland nut bottomed out here. Again, we have the motor locked down so we can tighten it up. There we go. Looks like everything's on there good. We got the right clearance. Awesome. Alright, so we've got the motor jacked up enough so we can get the heater box under there. We can take out our spacer. We're going to grab the heater box and basically hang it on number 1 cylinder back here, which looks like we got enough room to do so. That's good news. Alright, so that's hanging on there. Alright, so we're back here at cylinder number 1, exhaust side. We're going to put the heater box and obviously the header on there. Get the gasket on first. There we go. Basically just hangs right on there. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down because again we're going to put the headers on the front. We can probably use a little bit of flexibility as it relates to how this can move around a little bit. So anyway, there we go for that. Alright, then we've got the second side going on. Obviously the gaskets first. The header. There we go. Get the new nut on there. We'll tighten all this down and get ready to put the header on the front. Alright, so now it's time to put the exhaust headers on the cylinder number 2 and 4 here. Again, first thing you need to do is put the gaskets on, so we'll go ahead and do that now. So there you go. Exhaust side gasket number 2, cylinder. There's number 4. Now, you can see here the exhaust system from A1 Specialties is movable. Everything kind of flexes, not flexes, but moves, so you can adapt it to your motor. It is very difficult to get on here in the sense that it turns into kind of a Rubik's Cube. But the first thing you want to do is basically get the top 2 lined up like so here, and luckily, see, this one's got to come out just a little bit like that. Oh, watch out not to twist your motor too much. So there, we got that fitted on. And then again, we left the bottom heater boxes pretty loose, so again, we could fit them. So get the top ones on first, then because you're loose down here, you can kind of play with it. Alright, so we've got the upper manifolds just kind of tightened down a little bit, so that'll allow us to now go ahead and do the heat exchangers, the heat boxes, basically. The nuts go through. Oh, I'm going to put the washer on the other side. There we go. Nut goes through. Bolt goes on. Fits up no problem. And on these A1 Exhaust Specialties header and heater box combinations that I got here, they don't require a gasket in between. The flanges here are so large and they're machined so flat that basically gaskets aren't required. So that's again just kind of shows the quality of what they've got going on here. But basically, as you can see, everything's bolting together pretty well because again that heater box wasn't cinched all the way down. So now we'll go around to the other side and do the other heater box, and we'll pretty much be ready to go. We're tightening everything up and then lowering it back down and letting it rest on the heater boxes. But let me see if this goes in, which I think it will somehow. There it is. So yeah, now I just get all this tightened down. Alright, so we've got the heater boxes and the header bolted together here on the front of the motor. Now I just got to go around to the back and tighten up those 10 millimeters that we had previously left loose, so it was easier to connect these flanges. Alright, so we've got the heater boxes all tightened up on the exhaust manifold there. We've got everything tightened up in the front here. Everything's looking good. It's all fitting together real nice. Now we're just going to put the muffler on. Here we've got these Allen bolts and nuts. Again, no exhaust gasket is required as this is machined flat. And that's how the instructions have told us to put this together. So we go ahead and get our Allen there. Using my knee to hold up the muffler back here. Get that one hung first. Alright, so we've got one of them in here at the top. Now we're going to go ahead and grab another one, put it in here like so. Get that one, get all 3 of these on. And once those are on, we'll go back to the rear of the muffler there and show you how to get that bracket in or onto the header. Alright, so we're back here at cylinder number 1. They've welded a tab onto the exhaust manifold right there. So you can see we've got a flexible piece here which connects the muffler onto the header flange. So basically I want to put this nut through here and then bring the mount up to meet it. There we go. Put that on, and then I'm going to put the nut on the back here. And then we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to tighten everything up just a little tight here to make sure it all fits together. Then make sure and snug it all up. Looks like I need to try to push this up to make sure that it doesn't hit the header manifold or the heater box. So you can already see it's a good idea to kind of look at it a little bit and then tighten it up all the way when we're done. Alright, so we got the muffler on, we got it clearanced off the heater box there, everything's tightened up, we're good to go. I'd say the exhaust is all done. Now it's time to put the fan shroud and alternator back on the motor. Basically, come around to the back here, grab it by the air outlets, slide this down over the top of the oil cooler. You can see that. There it goes. Now it does fit inside the fan shroud, so there's a little bit of finagling you have to do. You can see that. Yes, I'm going to have to do a little finagling over here. Get a little screwdriver, but this side looks good. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get these 10mm bolts tightened down here on the fan shroud. Other side. Gotcha, good to go there. We'll put the little shaft in there. There we go. And we'll go ahead and put on the oil cooler air outflow on that. That gets put on back here. There we go. Alright, then the second piece is just the one specifically coming off the oil cooler. Put that in there. Nice solid fit. Washer. Alright, so the last thing to do to secure the fan housing, to the fan shroud, the housing is to get the strap over the alternator pedestal. Make sure all that's good. Slid forward there. Then basically you just tighten down the strap onto the pedestal and that'll be super tight and super secure. Alright, so now we're going to put the fan belt on because obviously we got the fan shroud on. So again, you want to take off all of your spacers in one hand here. Those are going to be spacers on the other side here too. Let's go ahead and leave those there for now. That'll give us a good baseline. The pulley, the degree pulley down here, was about the same size as the previous pulley that was on here, but you never know. So anyway, you put all your spacers back on there. Get them on there over the top of the... There we are. Get that back going as well. The nut on top. Go ahead and start tightening this down. We've got the motor locked down, so this the alternator will spin, but not the flywheel. So go ahead and take this the flywheel lock off of here. Make sure that we've got good clearance on our alternator. Oh yeah, that's good. That's perfect. That's tight, not too tight. Now again, with the key way how you tighten this down, you get your screwdriver in there and just give it a little turn. Perfect. And we'll tighten it up a little bit more. Oh, looks great. Alright, so now we're going to put the carburetors on. First thing we're going to do in that process is put the manifolds. But very first thing we're going to do, we're going to take out the little rags that we had stored in the ports to make sure we didn't dump anything in there. So anyway, everything looks all nice and clean. The rags come out. Then our gaskets go on. You can see we've got a metal gasket, paper gasket, and then another metal gasket. So first one goes on is metal. So that's it. Gaskets on there. Now we need to put the manifold on. Again, we went through and did all the fabrication and got that so it would fit on there. You can see it gets on there pretty good. Basically, we got our new nuts that came with the kit. Put that on there. Alright, so we'll just bolt on the other side. Get it on there nice and snug. Alright, now it's time to get the carburetor on the manifold. Manifold's been all bolted down, everything looks good there. Again, you get your gaskets with it, but mate your gasket up. Grab your carburetor. This obviously is the right hand side one. So I've got the air cleaners, everything looks like it all gets on there pretty good. I think what we're going to find is we got not a whole lot of room back here. Look at that, not so bad. I can get my fingers in there. Let's start off with the easy ones. Alright, so we've got the carburetor bolted down on that side. Now we're going to put the second side on. You can see I've got the linkage on this side. I was doing some fabrication, and we'll go through that later when we're doing the linkage. But again, put the washers on first. Get those all on. Bolted down. Now we need to grab our fuel line. I already made a fuel line. It's basically a T, and I like to run my fuel line from the pump to the T in the back, just underneath the air like that. Also, I don't put a fuel filter in this side here. I will put a fuel filter in the inlet side, into the inlet side of the fuel pump. But now that I've redone the fuel tank, gotten that resealed, I'm not worried about dirty gas anymore. So basically, yep, just fuel line there. A T basically goes on the back. Carburetors here, there's one. This T will go around to the other side here. There we go, we've got fuel lines going to the carburetors. It's good news. Alright, you can see here that where we used to have our coil is definitely in the way of the throttle linkage for the carburetor. So what I've done is I found a spot down here on the distributor mount stud. Basically all I had to do was grind off a little edge there, and then basically take the distributor mount bracket and then basically bolt this down onto it. It works pretty good. I saw in magazines that there are some specific mounts or brackets that people had built for this special purpose, but I kind of figured, well, let me see how this works. I mean, it is a MSD blaster coil, which is good for, you know, heat and vibration, but you know, I think that other than heat, this looks to be a pretty good spot compared to, you know, up here, and it gets out of the way, kind of hides everything. And there we go, and it's solid. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, so we've got the carburetors on, we've got the fuel lines on. Now it's time to put our hex bar linkage on the carburetors. You can see that I've set it up here already just to kind of give me a baseline to work off of, but basically you can see that the shaft goes into the knuckles there, and then you can screw these knuckles out to such a point that it captures that. Now you want to first set up your basic adjustment with these flat, this at a nice angle so it captures the throttle cable well, and then basically just set it up from there. So once you got that basic adjustment figured out, then you're good to put the spring retainers in there, which basically go in the end of the hex bar linkage to keep it centered. It goes on the knuckle there. You just kind of push it over the knuckle, and then the other side, take the other spring, put it into the other side and get that over the knuckle. There we go, and then just basically screw this knuckle out that way on both sides, both of them, to get these nice and centered and still, you know, easy to move. So I like that. It's pretty good. You got a little bit of play back and forth. Alright, so what I've done is I've made an extension here. You can see a little what they call a connecting nut here in the middle with some lock washers and another Allen. What this does is, again, it gives us a little bit more distance from here to here that allows this shaft to be more straight up and down perpendicular, which just helps the throttle linkage movement. It's just much smoother, linear, and less likely to stick. So anyway, I'll take you around to the other side and show you how this apparatus works in this area. Alright, step one, we want to take our 3mm Allen and put it in through the back side of the carburetor mechanism, and then take one of our 3mm nuts and then get that cinched down real good. Alright, next is we put another locking nut on there to hold against the connecting nut. It goes on like so. Connecting nut goes on. Again, you want to make sure you got a nice good amount of connecting nut to hold on to. So you want to drop this nut down as pretty much all the way to the bottom. Put that on there like so. I'm going to get that on there real tight as well. So get in there with your wrench. There you go, that's a good extension right there. And then we take our throttle linkage. We're going to take another locking nut and put it on there as well. Again, it just gives us the opportunity to have as much clearance as possible. Alright, so we've got our throttle linkage on here. It's all set up for now. Again, we'll do the finer adjustments later. Now we'll go and put the cap and the spark plug wires back on. And you can see clicks on like so. I have spark plug wires that have the cylinder numbers already marked on them. If that's not the case for your car, then you know, obviously it's probably a good idea to go ahead and mark those, but go ahead and do the easy side first. We got number 4 goes right here, and again we cut out those holes so we're able to access the spark plugs pretty easily. So that's 4. Now we're going to go ahead and put this on number 3. Goes through there, no problem. Now we're going to need to take number 2 and 1. I like to run them back behind the alternator here. We'll do that. So let me see, number 2 is this one right there. That's it. We got that, and then we know that that's number 1. There we go, the cap and spark plug wires are reconnected. Alright, we are basically done. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. It's the night before Christmas Eve. It has turned out so well. It looks great. Everything put together on it. I did the mock-up, did everything the best I could. I just can't believe how well it turned out. It's just full-on Merry Christmas to me. So basically just have a couple things left to do on it. Put the last engine tin on it right in here. Pretty basic stuff. And then we'll put on the air hoses for the heater. And then from there, we're pretty much done. Obviously, you got to fit that up better, but we'll do that later. You know, the throttle linkage has not been completely set up yet. It's basically set up at this point, but to do the finals on it, we need it to be in the car. We need to be able to have an opportunity to start it. And then once we start it, we can balance the carburetor, set all the idle adjustments, all that kind of stuff. So, but we've accomplished what we'd hoped to now. We got all the parts on there. It looks great. Everything's new. We got the A1 Sidewinder exhaust. We got the dual 40 Webers on there. We got the degree pulley. We got the high flow oil pump with the remote oil cooling. We've cleaned everything. We've looked at everything. It looks awesome. I think what you'll find is that we'll do another episode where we'll get this thing fired up. We'll treat it like it's a brand new long block and do it a first time run through. So anyway, I think that's it for DIY German air-cooled garage for this episode, putting the engine together. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.